If it's not working for you, you are not in the wrong. What's going on, guys? Jonathan Shane here, functional nutrition therapy practitioner specializing in metabolic health and women's hormones. Today, why do women force themselves to stick to a strict ketogenic carnivore diet? Now, I want to preface something. The key word here is forced, okay? Forced implies that there is resistance, meaning that their body is somewhat, in some way, somehow rejecting what they're doing, and due to dogma or due to wanting to be a culture clinger, right? They just want to be a part of that group. They want to be a part of that tribe. They want to feel a part of that community, and they feel ostracized if they don't follow the rules set before them by their great overlord, the influencer that they follow. They stay in it. They stay in it even though their body is rejecting it, right? So if you are someone that is thriving on a strict carnivore diet or a strict ketogenic diet, then this video is not for you. Now, I know most of you are going to make comments before you even hear this part of the video. That's okay. But I just want to let you know, this video is not for you. This is for the women that are on a strict carnivore, strict ketogenic diet and have been for years, and they've noticed that even though at first it gave them health and relief from bloat and relief from hormone dysregulation and relief from weight loss stalling, now for some reason those things are coming back and you're doing all the right things. And because you're not told that this might not be for you in this way, then you just do it harder because you feel like this is the answer. But then the answer is not giving you the results it's giving everybody else. Then you get caught up in the comparison game. Why are they losing weight and I'm not? Why are they healing and I'm not? And then you gain 30, 40 pounds because you start going back and forth and swinging, but really because it's not necessarily empowerment, it's restriction. You're breaking your own rules and boundaries that were set before you by your overlords. And now, next thing you know, you're trying a strict carnivore diet, 30 pounds, 40 pounds heavier, feeling your worst, super frustrated, feeling super alone, feeling super isolated, and afraid to speak up because of the ostracization that might happen when you do. And so I want to let you know right now that you are not alone, that I work with many women that struggle with this. And so I want to help clear the air on some things. Firstly, you don't have to be on a lion's diet to be carnivore. We really need to work on our definitions of carnivore. I just made a couple Instagram posts about this. Technically, as long as 70% of your diet is meat, the other 30% can be whatever you want. And you're technically what's considered a hyper-carnivore. Okay, most carnivores in the wild eat 70% vegetation. Could be grass, could be herbs, could be berries, could be fruit that they find, all that stuff, right? So as long as you're within 70%, like you're technically still carnivore. And the reason I say that is because I know words matter, and I know that there's weight to these words, but I also know that these words have been hyperinflated due to the dogma around the culture. And so carnivore is like meat only, but it's not meat only. That's not what defines a carnivore in nature, technically. And so realize that even if you do need to add in some other foods for it to be sustainable and for you to feel good, you're still technically on a carnivore diet as long as you are meat-focused, meat-based, animal-based. Okay, super, super important to understand that, right? So then we get into, well, what's happening? Why is carnivore keto giving me a problem? And I've talked about this before. I'll put physiological insulin resistance up there. Here's the thing too, and we can make another video about this. I've had people, some doctors and stuff tell me that physiological insulin resistance can't be true because of certain things to do with fat cells and insulin module and thing like that. Here's the thing. Physiological insulin resistance is a fairly new concept. It's a fairly new concept because we've never been in a place where we're really restricting carbs at the mass amount that we are in the general populace. So you have to understand that insulin resistance doesn't just show itself in weight gain. If we only look at fat cells, for example, then we're not seeing all the other issues. How do I know this? Because I've been to the Philippines. I've been to places where people are skin and bones and have type 2 diabetes and have atrophy in their tongue and in their feet. I've seen that like in person. I've met people that couldn't taste with their tongue because it was atrophied, right? Like I've seen that in person, and they were not fat. This dude was skinnier than I was. And so you don't have to be fat to have insulin resistance, right? So I don't want to go down a rabbit hole there. I want to kind of reel back to the point of the topic of the video, but just realize that like fat gain and fat sustainment is not the only sign of insulin resistance. Hormone imbalance, inflammation, achy joints, restless nights with sleep, hunger swings like crazy. All of those are signs of insulin resistance and blood sugar dysregulation. All of them. Irregular periods can be a sign of physiological insulin resistance. All that stuff, right? So just to say that right now out loud before we get into this. Carnivore, keto, can be stressful on women. When it piles on top of work, life, working out, kids, relationships, blah, blah, cycle, or post-perimenopause or menopause, those things are stressors and they stack up and they become like an endurance event. And over time that spills over. And so when cortisol's constantly leaching, insulin's constantly leaching. When insulin's constantly leaching, cortisol's constantly leaching because of the inflammation as a byproduct of constant insulin and blood sugar in the bloodstream. We know this because that's what a standard American diet can do. So so for some women, keto carnivore over time, when it's healing at first, can eventually become a stressor. How do we get rid of the stressor? We add in some strategic carbohydrates, either through a targeted approach or a cyclical approach. Figuring out what carbs you need and stuff, well, that's something that you have to experiment with or get a coach to help navigate so you can do it right. What's important to note here, though, with the video is like, you don't have to stay strict carnivore to be a carnivore. You don't have to stay strict keto to do it right. What's right is what's right for you. Your path is the path. Your path is the path. I have clients that do strict carnivore. I have clients that do low carb, and they're all thriving and they're all achieving their goals. Why? Because it's what their body needs in the context of a low carb ketogenic diet. They're optimizing fat burning, they're optimizing ketone production and usage, and they're keeping hormones regulated and balanced. That's what you want. You want to optimize fat burning, optimize ketone production and usage, and keep your hormones balanced. Whatever helps you get to those 3 checks is what you need to be doing, okay? So what do we know foundationally? We know that ketones are super, super important for anti-inflammation, brain health, fighting insulin resistance, okay? We know that optimizing fat burning comes from becoming fat adapted and also using fats as a primary fuel source and also being in a caloric deficit from time to time so that you're not in a surplus storing excess, okay? 3 big ones. Next thing we need to figure out is hormone balance. We know that for most men, for example, they can eat enough fats and proteins and calories and maintain a healthy hormone balance. Some need some intervention, but it's a lot less. For women, some women do just fine on a higher fat ketogenic diet. Some women are not as optimal as they could be, but they're so scared to add in carbs that they live a suboptimal life and they know it, but they've accepted that. That's on them, which is fine, right? I get the ED part of that. I think that needs to be worked through. I think you need to work on some mental barriers, but okay. Your path is the path. Third, though, some women know that when they reintroduce some carbohydrates for cortisol suppression, especially in their luteal phase or especially post-menopause, they notice increased recovery, more muscle mass growth, overall feeling better, lack of night sweats, beautiful sleep, all the great things, because it's helping them regulate their hormones on top of their ketogenic fat-adapted diet. That's the overall, okay? So you don't have to be strict keto, strict carnivore. You don't have to keep doing this to yourself. There's other ways. If it's not working for you, you're not in the wrong. If it's not working for you, you are not in the wrong. You need to accept that. And I'm willing to help you accept that, okay? If you want coaching, send the link. If not, just watch the rest of my videos and hopefully one of them resonates with you. I love y'all. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.